Welcome back. We're in the last day of Tishrei, right? Tonight's Rosh Chodesh, I think. So we are in the last day of the first month of the year, the head of the year, right? Tishrei, coming from the word Reshit, the beginning, ahead. So the tzaddikim say everything that we're doing in Tishrei, like all the chagim we had, and all the mitzvot, and all the work we've been doing, inside and outside, is a setup for the year. Okay? So I think it's amazing that we get to gather today in the last day of the month and cover the content that I want to do today, which is setting up a Seder, setting up a routine for ourselves, for our self-care, and for our children. And we're going to look at it through the lens of the elements as we've been doing. And you're going to see how built within nature and within our bodies is routine and order. Okay, so what can sometimes feel like chaos in life or within ourselves, or like I can't make a schedule for myself. I can't figure out what foods to eat. I can't make time for breakfast. You're going to see it's actually built within you. It's all very possible, and sometimes we just have to do the actions for it a little bit and fake it till we make it, or faith it till we make it, until it becomes a more natural piece. But it's possible for all of us because it's within us, okay? Before I get into it, I want to hear if there's any feedback on the homework from last time, which was the heart massage that we learned. Was there anything anybody wants to share about their experience doing it with their kids, with their spouses? Any questions? Some people did share with me privately that went really well, and that the kids loved it, and that they ask for it now every night, and they ask for more of it because we said it was took less than 30 seconds. So for some of you, the kids are really connecting and enjoying it, and you're using it as a time of bonding and winding down.
My kids love it. They love doing it, but I think my instant gratification part is I don't see anything happening. Nothing is happening.
Okay.
But they enjoy it.
So the kids are enjoying it,
Yeah.
but you're not seeing instant gratification. What exactly are you looking for?
I don't know. I think because you said it was a treatment, I was waiting for something. I'm so much more calmer.
Right.
Or blah, blah, blah.
So you're waiting to see something instant from the child. So it is in the moment happening if you're attuned. Something's definitely happening for them. For a lot of kids, you'll see their body go a little bit more limp as they'll sink deeper into a bed because you've touched their heart, and they can now relax. But a more internal kind of child won't show you anything. Maybe you'll see it in their eye. Maybe it'll just be the way they look at you differently when you've finished. Something registered, something transpired. But if you're not seeing anything, but it's bringing you to wind down and bring your attention to this child for this moment, you've accomplished something, right? Okay. Any other comments or questions on the heart massage?
Yeah, no, my kids loved it.
Your kids loved it. Yeah.
They want it every night.
They want it every night.
It's 3 seconds, but in that means I actually have to go to their room and it just doesn't always different.
I know. It's heaven for them. You guys have to know, because it is for us too. Someone was telling me they had their spouse do it for them. They taught them how to do it, and how it's just like a nice reset and a pause. So why is it so hard to get to the kids' beds? Why is it so hard to just make that time? Like we just said, it takes 10 seconds, 3 seconds. We're going to talk about why it's so hard and how to get there. Okay. So I said we're in Tishrei. We're in autumn, right? It's like gray and rainy outside. There was a definite seasonal shift in the last few days. The sun is setting much earlier. Is anyone feeling that?
Totally hard.
Okay, it's hard. Can I hear a little feedback? Thank you so much. I want to hear a little feedback about what's happening for people with the season change, because it changes mood.
I think some people love fall, some people don't. Yesterday was
Gray, dark, depressing. What? Day was very hard. Yesterday was very hard. Yesterday was our first. Yesterday was a hard day for people who were attuned to that because it was a very gray, very damp day. Most of it was dark. I don't remember seeing the sun yesterday. Okay? Is it okay?
Your face is cut off, so I don't want you to
So,
continue.
so take the bar, yeah, and you can tilt it forwards and back. Better? It's okay? It's okay?
My 3-year-old literally, he's slow now. He literally says it every day. He's like, "Ma, when's the sun coming up?" He's waiting for the sun, literally, and I'm
Right.
like, "Oh, it's not today. It's actually raining. Like, it's really sad."
Yeah, so someone just said her 3-year-old is asking for the sun in the mornings, right? So what does that show? What we're going through in the seasons change, our kids are too. And that's something to keep in mind, and that's something I had to become conscious to, right? So the darkness and the exhaustion we're starting to feel, or missing the sun, the daylight, lack of energy, we're getting a little more fatigued with the darkness. The kids are going through the same exact thing. And so we have to hold a lot of compassion for them because they don't have the tools that we have to get through it. You know, they don't know to sit down with a cup of coffee maybe and call a friend, light a candle. They don't know how to bring more light and energy into their lives. We have to show them. We have to do it. We have to be doing it. Yeah. Yeah. So for this example, this 3-year-old who's like, "Mommy's, where's the sun?" That's an invitation to have a discussion with him about the season change. Like, this is how it's going to be for a few weeks. Because
Maybe tomorrow.
If
I started singing Annie.
yeah, God willing, tomorrow, but also a beautiful opportunity to teach your son about season change, mood change, how it's going to be darker now. It might be harder to get up in the mornings. And we might want to turn on, maybe you put a special lamp in his room to add more light in the mornings. Because for a lot of our kids, they're getting up in the darkness. They're going to school in darkness. It's hard. People come in with seasonal depression, right? Seasonal affective. Like, one big remedy are these like therapeutic lights, lamps. If you heard of them, happy lights. You can buy them online. They are meant to mimic the sunlight. So a lot of people that I've worked with over the years have these lamps in the wintertime, and they have them in their bathrooms. So women, while they're getting ready for the day, for work, they sit in front of this lamp and mimic sunlight. So it's sending signals to their body, to their hormones, to wake up, to have more joy. So there's ways that we can work with the season. So I bring up depression because I want us to remember that it's not like personal. Like, some people take a rainy, dark day very personally, and they make it their mood. Right? But it's really just a weather change. It's really just remember the cycle of the seasons in life. It's just, we're in the downward. We're moving down in the season. So you can just, if you can keep conscious of that, like I walked outside yesterday I walked into an appointment around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and when I walked out, it was almost dark. An hour later, and I had this moment of like, feeling sad or lonely, wanting to be inside and cozy, and I had to remember it's just the change in the clock, just a change in the season, and do a little bit of self-talk. So our kids could be going through that too, to be mindful and just to remember it's just a shift. We're moving into a shift where something else is going to be asked of us in this season. Part of which is routine we're going to get into, but soon we're going to be moving into the winter, into really darkness, into more cold. And there's gifts in all of this. I'm not telling you have to like it, but maybe just to like zoom out of an experience of a cloudy, dark day of winter. Like, some people are like, I hate winter, I hate the cold, and they just suffer through it or they go on vacation. They go to the Caribbean as often as they can in the winter just to escape it. That's okay, but
People in Florida and the Caribbean don't experience all this?
no,
It's a special.
it's special for us. So it's okay, but we don't have to suffer through it, okay? So the metal season, this is the autumn. This is this downward movement. This, remember I talked about the lungs and the large intestine, inhalation, expiration, the large intestine letting go, downward movement. This represents in us and in our children the ability to be precise and detailed. So I was going to ask Leah for like a piece of metal as a demonstration, but we can all hold in our mind's eye a piece like a fork or a piece of metal, piece of steel, and we could think about its rigidity and how strong it is. And there's so many gifts to that, to be strong and rigid and be able to support a building, support a foundation, right? But sometimes that rigidity in a person, while it can lead to routine and order, it can also lead to rigidity and inflexibility, which can stifle growth, which can depress a mood. So I want to talk today about how to create more breathing space, and bring more warmth and compassion into metal. So the way to work with metal is if you warm it, right? You can make it pliable and you can shape it into what you want. Fire will melt the metal so that you can work with it, right? So a really stubborn, inflexible person, child, self needs fire to work with it. So what does this represent? It's our hearts, it's our compassion, it's the softness, the way we gently wake up our children in the mornings when they're running late and we're running late, and we choose to come into fire and still be soft with them even though the clock's ticking. That's the only way to get them to move.
What about fun? Is that's in
Fun too, but depends on the kid and the age, like how happy-go-lucky you can be in the morning with them, right? Right, with an older kid that might be hard, but they might need you to be soft with them in your words. Same with the season. We can easily forget we just came out of summer, right? We just had the freedom and the laughter and the ease of summer, and we have to use it to feed into our autumn and our winter, not to forget it, okay? So to keep that in mind. Any questions so far?
So what exactly is the flow of the fire through metal? Like of the rigid?
So it's an inner cycle. There's an arrow here. It's a controlling cycle. So the way to control metal, which wants to be very orderly, very detailed, almost perfectionist, right? What wants things a certain way. The way to keep that in balance so that it doesn't become obsessive perfectionism, rigidity, is to warm it. So
That person doesn't want to be warm, you know, or they're very rigid, or older person, younger, whatever, you know?
what happens when a person doesn't want to be warmed?
They want it.
So I walked in talking to Leah about this. Everybody wants to be warmed. They're just cut off from it because that's their heart. It's their center. It's their soul. It's everything. We all want peace, fire, and joy. We're just cut off. We don't know how to get it. We don't know how to receive it. We've put up a wall.
So if they don't know how to receive it, then how is it helpful?
If they don't know how to receive it, it doesn't mean you stop giving it. But by learning yourself and your child's strong dominance, you can learn how they can receive it, because there's so many ways to give fire and to give love, right? We talked about communication, your words. We talked about affection, in the different ways of touching, positive speech, presence. Sometimes you just have to be in a room with somebody. They don't have to say a word, but if you're fully connected in your heart with them, they will feel it. Fun was another way. Sometimes, a person maybe isn't speaking with you, but you can write, like you can leave love notes in your child's lunch, but not too mushy if they're not a mushy type, right? Just something simple. Wishing you luck today.
Like I know.
Quality time.
This is like from a parenting side, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
this is obviously for everyone.
Yes,
So
correct.
I'm saying in terms of let's say adult. I'm saying as a therapist. I'm just in my head we're talking about like if I have a client who the husband or the wife is very rigid, and one of the partner comes from like this like loving affection and change that person may be stuck in their ways or wants something a certain
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat the question on the video. So the question was from a therapist about working on this with spouses, and one wanting to give or to have more affection, one saying, I don't have time. And that time being maybe a way to have a wall to it, right? So, I mean, that's like a really specific case. I think we have to like talk about time and order, and this person, working 70 hours a week, and why, and how to make the time, what I want to cover today is why we don't have time for the heart, why we can't even access it, why we can't even make space. Can you ask me your question again at the end, and let's see if it helps at all? It's important. Okay, so I'm going to hand out pass it around, a miniature version of what we're going to go through today. So you have it, because it's a lot of detail. So someone said another way is quality time. And the quality time is not the way you like to spend time. The quality time is the way your spouse or your child likes to spend quality time. So with a lot of, right? So date nights with your spouse, date nights with your kids. We're good? It's different colors, but it's the same content. Okay, this is the really cool stuff, okay? This is called the Chinese clock, and this is how the organs and the elements are lined up in the order of the day. Each organ is associated with a 2-hour window of the day, which means in that 2-hour window, that organ is functioning at its best, and we can harness the gifts of the organ in that 2-hour time period. And it's the way we flow with nature. And it's when we go against nature that symptoms and issues show up. So we're going to go through the clock together and learn about ourselves and where our hiccups are. So I want to start with the lungs, 3 to 5 a.m. Okay? The lungs are associated with 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. This is like the mornings, and this is like the hardest, could be, in this season, the hardest time now because it's dark out. But years and years ago, hundreds of years ago, this would be the time people would rise pre-dawn to meditate, to harness the gift of the lungs. The lungs, the inhalation and exhalation, respiration, it's like, that accordion-looking thing that helps to fan a fire, right? Those are the lungs fanning the heart. It's the way the respiration, breath, is what feeds the energy of the body, helps the heart, cleanses the blood, gets blood flowing throughout the body so we have energy. So, right, many of you have explored breath work, right? That's a big therapy. Just focusing on one's breathing is a major meditation and a way of setting rhythm and tone and pace for life, right? All of us are like, I don't have time. There's no time. I have no time. You set the time at the beginning of the day with your breath. And if you didn't wake up at 4 a.m. to meditate, that's okay. At any hour of the day, you come back to the gift of the lungs, which is breath, a deep breath. Right? A lot of our really hyper kids, we're often saying to them, just breathe. Just stop, take a breath. Right? So we can do that. We can do that for ourselves and model it for our kids. Okay? 5 to 7 a.m. is the large intestine, the colon. So if a person's been up for 1 hour, 2 hours, maybe they're meditating, okay? Then they're moving, they're exercising. That's another way of moving the lungs and getting routine breath moving through the body. It's a time of the colon. It's a time to let go. So it's a time to literally eliminate, okay? So much like constipation, IBS around, people complaining a lot of people struggle with constipation. Again, that rigidity of the metal, the lack of breath in the colon. Remember the energetic movements? The fire goes up, water sinks down. Metal, I told you it's a downward slope. Remember this picture, this arrow? there's one aspect of letting go this way, so like the large intestine of moving down, letting go, but there's another movement of metal which goes outwards. It goes inwards. It's a constricting energy because it wants to keep everything in order, tidy details. So when it's out of balance and we become too rigid and perfectionist, it squeezes. That's one part of why constipation happens in children and in ourselves. It's too much of squeezing energy. So when you take a breath in, you open up the vessels, you open up the organs, and there's flow again. Okay? A lot of energy in the body is happening right now between these hours with these elements, just breathing in and out and having like regular elimination. If you speak, so it's happening on a physical level, but also an emotional level, right? So if those of you who listen to Gedalia Fenster or have morning meditation, morning Hitbodedut that you're doing, he always talks about it's a time where you let go. You have to, there's a letting go that happens in the morning. I have to let go of yesterday. I have to, hopefully you've done it at night before you went to sleep, but if you didn't, you can do it in the morning, and the energy, the organs of the morning are helping you do that. It's really a time to breathe, to let go. That's meditation. I have to let go of the stresses of yesterday. I have to let go of the way my child spoke to me and come back to them with love. It's a new day. It's a new start. I have to forgive myself. I have to let go of whatever I think I should have done or didn't do or could have done better. Otherwise, I'm carrying it with me through the whole day. I'm exhausted. I'm constipated. I'm not breathing. And it takes over the whole day. Okay, any questions? What constrains this energy in the morning, why people have trouble getting up in the morning, again, why the shortness of breath. So many people with anxiety say, I can't breathe. The emotions of worry and sadness and grief, the emotions of metal, not up the energy and don't allow a person to breathe on a physical level. So it's happening physically and emotionally. But if we use the gift of the time to let go and to release it, we have less disease, less pain, less discomfort. So what shows up for people physically, in addition to lack of breath and constipation, is also chronic sinus issues, chronic neck tension, which is going to lead to headaches. So if, what?
All those things come from not letting go, from holding
Yeah.
too tight.
Yeah, from worry and grief. So excess grief is not letting go, is not mourning a loss. It's not releasing it. So if I hold it medically it knots up this whole area, this area of the lungs, and so then the muscles of the neck get really tight, and then we get into sinus issues and headaches, TMJ. Yeah. Okay. Stop me anytime. So let's move on to 7 o'clock. This is the most important minute if you listen. 7 to 9 a.m., 9 to 11 a.m., 7 to 11 is the time of the earth. It's time for breakfast. You're right. I'm not assuming anything. I'm talking to myself. Many women that I work with, many mothers, do not eat breakfast. And these mothers come in with a lot of anxiety and fatigue. And one of the first things we talk about is breakfast. It's just impossible without it. It's just impossible to do this work without nourishment.
And you were saying, because when I came to you, this was one of the first things you spoke about. You were saying, because I must have breakfast, but I always had cereal. And you were like, no. I can't just do dessert.
Right, you were having like cornflakes and milk. Right, which doesn't work. I mean, it'll work if you eat again in 25 minutes, because that's only going to give you enough energy for 25 minutes, and then you're going to crash. Because of, sugar drop. Cornflakes give you not much to go on, right? It's burned up really fast.
You're saying you need to have like a proper breakfast every day?
Am I saying have a proper breakfast every day? I'm saying be mindful. I'm saying be mindful of eating at this time and something substantial. If you want, there's no pressure. No one has to do anything I'm saying. What I'm giving over is wisdom, thousands of years old wisdom of how the body functions and how it will thrive. And if we're all looking for presence and health and vitality, this is a way to get there.
So basically, like, if you think you're getting more sleep by not, let's say I take that extra 20 minutes to sleep, instead of making myself a proper breakfast, I probably would be more awake during the day if I had eaten the breakfast than those 20 minutes at 6:30.
Maybe.
Okay, maybe.
So so should you take extra 20 minutes to sleep versus the breakfast? So this, again, let's not be too rigid in our metal, okay? This is not, your metal. Yeah, this is not exact, right? And a lot of people are like that. I'm glad it came up. If you don't eat your breakfast between 7 and 10 a.m., is it over? No.
Right, so I see this as like
It's-
a schedule. Okay, fine, now you're telling me.
This is a guideline. This is a guideline, but we can bring love and compassion into it. And if you were up late the night before and you take in a little extra 20 minutes for self-care, it's fine. Just be mindful, within 2 hours of waking, I should have something. But I'm only going to be able to have something comfortably, right? People have no appetites in the morning. If I've let go and I've eliminated and there's space now for me to take in something. So this is the ability to receive. And sometimes to make space to receive something, right? Affection. To make space to receive something, I need to grieve, I need to let go, I need to physically eliminate, I need to make space to take in something. Okay?
Kid that's just like nauseous and like just can't eat breakfast.
Right.
On the bus like super early and they just can't.
Right. So kids who are nauseous, adults I hear all the time are like, they tell me they're nauseous, they can't eat in the morning. We have to, what's going on? What's blocked there?
My father was a Rebbe, and he used to want us to eat breakfast because he knew the students that did it. So we used to put our bowls in the sink with a drop of cereal, a drop of milk in the sink because he counts. Why are there only 3 bowls?
Yeah. It's important. So, yeah.
They're saying that people be up at 3 in the morning, and for 2 hours in that period to be meditating, and for 2 hours to go to the bathroom, and then
I know for sure.
but not until like 7, and they'd be up for 4 hours to eat. That's what it was.
Some people, again, it's not rigid. It's not rigid. This is an ideal. This is what's possible. This is what your body will allow if you let it, if you feed it. Yeah. So people who are nauseous, so that could be coming from constipation. It could be excess, what we call, in the stomach. So just eating the wrong foods in life.
Maybe that it's too early like for them. Like,
It could,
leaving to school at 7:15.
if they just woke up at 6:50 a.m. and they're on the bus at 7:15, they're not eating breakfast now. They're rushing to get ready. But you can pack something.
They're gonna start school with like snacks.
This is why we need mommies in every classroom, making sure they eat.
In public schools, they give breakfast.
Yeah.
Because of this reason, I feel like.
Yeah. So you have to work with your child and your child's schedule.
Not the elementary.
This is the Rambam, it says the whole thing with the digestion, this is his entire
Sure. Yeah.
for life, jumped on top of the fence.
Yeah, it's ancient wisdom. Okay. So we're in 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., the time of the stomach and the spleen. These are both organs tied to digestion. And remember when I told you about the earth element, which is what we're in, it's also about the intellect. Okay? So when we're talking about a person's ability to think clearly, to have memory, to have focus, right? Everyone's so focused on children focusing in school, okay? Having ideas, studying, memorizing, the ability to do that is really coming from this energy. That is why the quality of our foods is so important, and when we're eating those foods is so important. And when we eat the wrong foods, especially people who have food sensitivities or leaky guts, if they eat the wrong foods, it immediately causes brain fog, fatigue, right? People who are gluten sensitive or dairy sensitive, they eat it, they'll immediately, like, energy levels shut down. They can't think clearly. Okay, this is why some people might be nauseous in the morning, because they're eating foods that are derailing their digestive system. It can't function, so it's showing up as nausea. Okay, so this is really important, and ultimately, the quality of our food is so important. Also, especially as women, because in Chinese medicine, a lot of our energy and our blood, like not just the menstrual blood, but blood, which lubricates and nourishes and gives energy, is made from our food. Partially, it's made from our food and from our breath. So we're really building energy for the day in these key hours. Question.
Are you saying that everything that you do between these timelines, between these specific timelines, is what's fueling the balance or imbalance of these elements for your day?
Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Wow. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, which is, because like someone will come in for an acupuncture appointment at like 10:30 a.m.
Right.
and they're telling me how anxious they are, and they can't think and they can't stop, and they're just so anxious and their neck's killing them. And the first thing I asked this particular person, because I knew, was, did you eat today? And the answer was no. So is that the only reason she's anxious? No, but it's not helping at all. Helping her recover and move through the day. So she woke up with worry and grief on her mind, and that consumed her until she got to my office. But had she perhaps stopped, let go of the obsessive thoughts from yesterday or 2 years ago, whatever it is, taken some breaths, maybe 2 minutes of meditation, and sat with like a piece of fruit, I know she would have walked in at 10:30 a little bit more easy. Yeah, we're setting the tone. You're setting up your blood sugar for the day, your hormonal balance, your emotional balance.
So you're sleeping by all of those hours. All these elements are.
No, it's a good question. So if you sleep till 11 a.m., then what?
No, or even if you sleep from 11 p.m. till 7 a.m., all of the firewood.
No, you're supposed to be sleeping here.
Right.
We're going to talk about these elements. But you start when you wake up. If you wake up at 11 a.m., start at 11 a.m. Breathe, let go, eliminate, eat, move on. Right? Some people don't give themselves enough time. Also with constipation, it's this 2-hour window, right? You have to give yourself time. Yeah, but we have to allow for time to have these, but there is no time, right? You have to make the time. You have to take time back. Time is man-made.
Can we make this time possible for our children on the school schedule? Maybe, on the school schedule, I would love to give my kids a few minutes to relax
I know.
in the morning.
I know.
And now I'm thinking, my God, of course we're shoving cereal down their throat because it takes 4 seconds and they only have 5 to get to the bus.
Right.
And we're giving our kids a sugar high that they're going to crash in 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Better not to eat at that point, almost.
That's what I'm saying, like we're really failing.
Or
setting
what
them
if
up
we
for
wake up
failure.
earlier?
So what do you do for the child, right, that are rushing out? No, you know your child and act accordingly. I really think there needs to be mothers in every classroom checking in when the kids arrive. Have they eaten? And if not, sit them down in the corner and let them eat. Like some children, you'll be able to wake up earlier. Especially the middle children, they want time to sit at the table with their breakfast before they move along their day. So you can consider healthy things that again, we don't have to be perfect every day.
I'm talking about
The time,
time to stop, pause, meditate, let go. I would love to give my kids a few minutes to
yeah.
breathe in the morning.
The only way we can give it to our kids, is if we do it ourselves. So I am up at least 2 hours before my child. That's what I had to do. That's what I had to do to be the mother she needs in the morning. So that in that 30 minutes to 1 hour she has with me before going to school, I make it as calm, nurturing, supportive as I can, so she goes off for the whole day with at least starting that. I had to do that for myself. You gotta,
Can you like tweak it for the masses?
now, so tweak it for the masses. Every moment is a moment you can use. So we, there's this feeling of like, I woke up late, my kid woke up late, I have 10 minutes to get them dressed, eating, and out the door. Forget it. It's like the morning's gone. No. Every moment is a moment to breathe and my chart's gone. Bring compassion and do your best in that moment. And you can even verbalize it and you can say like, honey, I can't believe it. We both woke up late. I hate to rush you. We're getting dressed. I'm giving you this oatmeal. You're going to eat it in the car. Please eat your breakfast. You can work with what you have. Work with what you have. If you're going to wake up early or you're going to have them wake up early, you need to think about what's happening at bedtime. They need to be going to bed on time. We're going to get to bedtime soon. But there's always an opportunity to make it good. You know, I got through the whole morning. I walked my daughter out to her carpool. Thankfully, we were early, and I took that moment, instead of checking my phone or checking where the carpool is, I kissed her forehead. I took time to engage, offer affection, and I realized, and I'm realizing it now as I'm speaking to you, I didn't give her affection the whole morning. She woke up without that. No hugs, no kisses, until, thank God, I remembered. So there's time and there's space if we make it, but we have to work hard for it. We have to work hard for it.
You don't do these things for yourself, and it's not going to register or occur to you to do that for your kid.
Yeah.
And then once you start doing this for yourself, then naturally you're going to extend that and give that to them.
But so I had to learn for myself to be present for someone else. All of my needs had to be taken care of. It's like the oxygen tank on the plane. You have to put it on yourself before you put on your child. That's what I learned I had to do. When I found myself not living the way I wanted, I was like, okay, I need an hour. And then it turned into 2 hours to be dressed and fed and meditated and prayed and everything I need to do so that when she wakes up, I can be present, because that's the child I have. I know her needs. What I eat? So this morning I had a veggie burger from the freezer with coffee and juice. I had it 2 hours after I woke up. I wasn't hungry before that, right? I had got moving, I was doing other things, and then I ate, and then my daughter woke up. So all my needs were taken care of for the most part. But I didn't do that overnight. It took time. Sometimes I'll have peanut butter on a rice cake. Sometimes I'm not eating, sometimes it's like leftover vegetables and fish. Like, yeah. So, like sardines. Have you ever had sardines for breakfast? I just started that this year. I grew up with my grandfather, Alav Shalom, eating them. I never looked at them, tasted them, and then one of my friends, who I look up to a lot as a mother, she eats sardines. I'm like, I'm gonna eat sardines, because she's like, they're packed with protein, omega-3s. She's like, I'm good. I eat a can and I'm good. I'm like, I'm gonna try it, and I pushed myself, and I eat it with a rice cake, and I'm done. Okay, let's move through the day. Yeah.
If, let's say, my kids save me from like 7:15 to 7:45, and then I have like an hour and a half after that to do my letting go and eating, is that like, I mean, it's not really working. Is that
No, I've heard that before. Like, what if I take care of my needs after my kids are gone? That's okay. If
realizing it's not really
If you're normal with them when they're
you're right, if you can be if you can be the mother you want to be, and they need you to be, do what you got to do. It's what you want. It's what you want. And again, we're not being rigid. We're working with what we have.
trying to do that, but I'm seeing it's not really working, so maybe I need to do one part of it.
Yeah, like even a cup of tea. Just feed yourself, ladies. Just do something for yourself before you start tending to everybody else. Sometimes it's just hot water with lemon. Sometimes it's putting on your favorite robe. Do something for yourself before you engage the day, because you need sustenance. to give to other people. Okay, let's move on. Oh my God, we're out of time. Okay, just so quickly, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We're back in fire energy. This is the heart. Remember I talked about this. This is presence. This is consciousness. This is peace. This is love, right? This is mental clarity, right? So if you're in your day, if you're teaching, if you're working, if you're being a human being in the world and you want to be alert and focused, and this is the time of day to do it, the way we get here is with our morning, right? So I had a patient I was working with. He was going through a really, really challenging time psychologically and emotionally. 11 a.m. on the dot every day, he got a pain in his chest. Okay? So it's good to know the organs associated with the hours because he could have went into like, I'm having a heart attack or spun into an anxiety attack, which he sometimes did. And it was just his body speaking. It was what he was going through emotionally. His body was calling to attention. Sure enough, the whole never ate breakfast, digestive system was a wreck, IBS and inflammation, and the body was talking to him. Okay, so even just knowing where I'm at on the clock can orient me instead of feeling like, what's my body doing? It's controlling me. You take the driver's seat back and like, no, it's 11 o'clock. It's the time of the heart. What's coming up in my heart right now? Something I didn't let go of this morning, something someone just said, something within myself, okay? The small intestine, which is a part of digestion, is also the power of discernment, right? So people have trouble like being clear. This is the gift of this element is to know what's me, what's not me. What's good for me. The small intestine on an organ level takes the good stuff from what you eat and then sends what's not good to the large intestine to be eliminated. So too in life, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, what's good for me? What do I need to let go? Okay. Also really important now, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., 3 to 5, the time of the bladder. This is the nervous system. This is when not everyone, I'm not going to make assumptions. Thank you. This is when a lot of people, no, but you're right. A lot of people go for their second cup of coffee right here, right? This is the slump. When people can slump. Why are they slumping? Okay, what happens up until now? We have to be real with ourselves. But also, this is the time, 3 to 5, the day is starting to turn. Our energy reserves are starting to wane. This is the nervous system having been working all morning and all afternoon and is ready, wanting to recharge, okay? So the kids coming home from school between the younger kids, right, 3 to 5 p.m., the older ones, 5 to 7, also time of the water element, time of the winter, time of evening. Do you see how everything's connected? So the inner circle is showing you the elements. The sun is setting, the day is ending, it's time to shut down. But what happens is we go against nature because we have electricity and we have coffee and we can just power up as if it was 9 a.m. again. When really we're meant to be settling down. And so much anxiety shows up in the late afternoon sometimes for women, also men too, when the kids come home and their second job or the second run of the day begins. But we can, keeping in mind that it's time of water and the nervous system has to deregulate, like down, I don't know what the word is. We want it to regulate, but we want it to just turn the notch down, start resting. We're setting up bedtime already by 5 p.m., okay? Dinner, and remember, bringing fire back into the routine. So we get so focused on what we have to do, homework, dinner, bath, bedtime, heart massage, all these things I'm giving you to do, right? We forget to bring the love in. Don't forget to bring the love in. So when the child walks in the door, remember to give a hug and a kiss. Remember to bring touch back into their day, which they have not had all day at school probably. Yeah.
What's the fear?
So the emotion, so fear, every organ, so every time has an emotion associated with it. So fear, these organs out of balance can lead to fear. But when they're in balance, it's really pointing to the depth, to the kidneys, which is, and the brain and the nervous system, which can also give you wisdom. So are we using our nervous system to live in fear and panic? Or are we living from a place of wisdom and being centered and regulated? Okay. 7 to 9. I really like this one. 7 to 9 is the pericardium. Pericardium is physically in the human body, it's the wrapping around the heart. So this is associated with the fire element, very connected to the heart, emotions, and interpersonal relationships. So this is the time of day, 7 to 9 p.m., where we're actually meant to be connecting with the people around us.
What if there's no one around you?
With yourself. If there's no one around you, connecting with yourself. And that's a big avoda of winter we're going to talk about in a couple weeks. But I had a woman I was working with, her anxiety didn't peak here. Her anxiety would peak from 7 to 9 p.m. Everything makes sense. Everything has a reason. And she noticed when I brought her attention to this, that it's the time of her heart, really. She said, well, you know what? I realized, like, I'm getting overwhelmed with the kids. I'm feeling disconnected from my husband. And I'm feeling like no one's tending me. And that's causing heart palpitations and worry and feeling like frazzled, right? And when she realized, when we talked about that time of day, and I said, no, this is actually a time of connection, instead of leaning into anxiety, flip it. Lean in more to the kids. Give them hugs. Ask your husband for help. Take care of yourself. Anxiety went down within a week. Okay? She's on herbs, but it's not the herbs that did it. It's not the herbs that did it. She's been on the herbs for months. It's not the herbs. It was a shift of perception and shifting her way of being. Okay, and then lastly, so it's 7 to 9, 9 to 11. This is the domain of the heart. So again, the reason we get distracted from connecting with ourselves and our loved ones is because of a lot of practical things, like things that have to get done. But if you can just keep a reminder that with all the to-do, to bring your heart in, with all the order and routine, bring the heart in, right? You know, our modern world with all our lights and all our technology and the ability to be on WhatsApp and to do so much, you know, we're able to do so much and there's so many gifts, but at what cost? Okay, so know yourself, know your family, know your needs. I think a lot of stress comes down when right, that's what, like the gifts of COVID, when everything was shut down and we had to be with each other, right? There was a lot of comfort and healing that happened from that. 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. is the time of the gallbladder. This is moving into the wood energy, and 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. is the liver. So the liver and the gallbladder work together. The liver is the ability to have desire, vision, creativity. And the gallbladder is what gives the courage to a person to go after their dreams and pursue their vision and their creativity.
What is a triple burner?
I did a little bit. It's connected to the heart energy. It's a lot to talk about, but it's connected to the fire. But this is fire energy. So in the body, it's under discussion in the Western world because it's really like a Chinese organ that doesn't necessarily have a physical. They're not sure if it has a physical manifestation, but in Western, they think of it maybe as the connective tissue, which is throughout the whole body. So it's controlling waterways and water metabolism, connections, on an emotional level. So, you know, and someone said, what if you're home alone? So this is a time for yourself too. If you're home without people to take care of, and it's about self-care. So there's some people, the teenagers I work with, I'll tell them, who have trouble getting to bed on time, I tell them from 9 to 11, take a shower, make a cup of tea, I'll tell them buy new pajamas so that they have something to look forward to get into bedtime routine. And they're giving love to themselves with those actions. Okay? So this wood energy, right? It's creativity and vision and dreams and executing things. And there's a danger here because this is when a lot of people like to be up, right? This is why people say, but am I most creative at 1 a.m., right? I do all my schoolwork at 1 a.m. So there's a danger because those energies are very alive, and yeah, you can be very creative and get things done, and maybe the house is quiet and there's going to be a desire to do it.
Well, why is
But
that? If this goes with the way of the world and how things are supposed to be, then why would it be that these are
I don't know. I asked myself that last night.
Why are you supposed to go to sleep?
We're meant to be asleep. So even within the medicine, we're meant to be asleep here. If we're moving during these hours and the blood is moving, we can't sleep and we get into a bad routine. The Chinese say that at night, the blood that's flowing throughout all the limbs and all the organs comes to rest inside the liver, and that's how a person can have a peaceful sleep. And if it doesn't do that, a person doesn't have a peaceful sleep. How do you get that blood to rest fully in here? You have to eat well. Because remember, the breathing and the eating is what builds blood. So if you just eat breakfast, you will have done so much for yourself, is the truth.
I wonder if this impacts dreams. Maybe
It does, very much impacts dreams. Very much impacts dreams. So very vivid, wild dreams, right, is usually a person having not gone to bed before this time. And there's probably some low blood, so poor nutrition, excess menstrual blood. What?
They only stop from 11 to 3? That's when you're ideal?
I don't know. I'm sure there are people who sleep 4 or 5 hours a night, yeah.
Why is there anger there?
Anger is the emotion associated with this element, but anger is just a word. What it's really describing is this upward rising energy. So when out of balance, when a person is in a childlike state, or when they haven't gotten what they wanted, or they're being overly rigid, there's this,
Peaking?
there's this rising, but it doesn't have to be anger. The rising energy could also be my self-esteem. It could be creativity. It could be an expression. It could be orders, directions, instructions. Yeah, it's very interesting. And that is the day. So what spleen is part of, it's connected to the earth energy. It's with the stomach, it's for digestion. Okay? So this was a guideline of what's happening within you. These are how your organs are peaking and waning during these times. Okay, so they're talking to you, they're asking for their needs. Even if they're showing up as lack of appetite or nausea, it's pointing to something going on in this area that wants attention. And this is a guideline of how to live, how to set up the day for yourself and for your loved ones, how to get some sort of order. And let's say we're dealing with excess worry and anxiety. You can just heal your gut. You can just look at what you're eating to start healing that, okay? And also to know vice versa, know that worry and anxiety will also impact physically, right? So the nausea, lack of appetite, is that physical, is that emotional? We have to ask ourselves. It goes both ways. So I want to offer some homework for the week. Before I do, did we get to a little bit of the question about the spouses, let's say, who don't have time or how to receive? We could see how we can see how a person can be completely not have time for warmth or know how to receive it when they're not having a rhythm and a pacing to life, right? So like workaholics, there's no eating breakfast. There's no sitting with my heart and contemplating what might be upsetting me. Certainly at nighttime, when I'm, right, there's people can just keep working. You can work 24 hours a day. So you can see how a person could say there is no time. But when we bring Seder and we pay attention and we live with nature instead of fighting it, resisting it, there's time.
Works the other way also. If you have no rigidity,
Right.
you have nothing, everything becomes
A big mush, right.
a big mush.
So, right. So,
You almost
You've-
need the
you need to just sometimes,
stove somewhere.
yeah.
Like,
So that's the gift of this time. Instead, we're in the autumn energy. We're in a new year. We've just started a new year. We have hopefully let go of last year and our old selves. The ones who didn't like routine or the ones who didn't eat breakfast. Maybe we can open up to a new self. And you can do that in this new year. You can do that on a daily basis. Yesterday I didn't eat breakfast. Today I am.
I would love to understand the flip side of these more, like
The result of not doing
grief, balance as well, worry, balance as well. Like, what is the flip side of each so that I could try to tune into those times? And
Oh, like how to flip it for yourself?
meaning
polar
like,
opposites of them.
meaning like
This?
from 12 to 2.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's a spectrum. Nothing is solid. It's a spectrum of, it can be. It can be. That's why I want to take each element and go deep. But I had to set the stage a little bit. So I want to offer some homework for the week. I would really recommend, remember, we're always putting fire. The heart is the center of everything. I was telling Leah this morning, I feel like the root of all of our challenges is here, is lack of joy, lack of warmth, lack of love. I think it's a huge piece of a lot of dysfunction, and it's on us to give it to ourselves and our families. There's so much we can do from here. So I encourage you to keep up with the fire, the heart massage. If you're doing it, if you see your kids love it, keep it up. Keep feeding their fire. Okay? It doesn't have to be with touch. It could be with quality time. It could be with a joke. It could be many different things. So keep that up. But now we're going to add to the fire, ladies, and we're going to think about this evening time, and we're going to think about maybe dimming the lights after a certain hour at home. If your house is full of activity and lights and it's really hard to quiet down like nature has already done, you can do that with dimming lights, putting on lamps, putting on soft music. You can create the scene of a house that is aligning with nature. And if your child didn't get a hug that day, use that time for the hug. Bedtime story, connection for yourself. Also give it to yourself, okay? To keep in mind what we talked about with the weather's not personal. So the dark, gloomy days, the wet days, we can observe it through the eye of its nature, and it's teaching me something, okay? And just watch the emotions that come up. And to keep in mind, we're in this time of life right now, this downslope. So maybe there's still, maybe there are things I think we're letting go on a daily basis. So just don't get caught up in grief of it, but of what it's calling you to.